Have you ever felt that whisper in your soul calling you to something more, but all the things spinning around in your mind have kept you stuck? Well, what if I told you that choosing excellence could be both easier and more adventurous than you could ever imagine? I am Chelsea DeBruin-Colbert, your host of All Things Excellence. I'm a soul catalyst for excellence who leapt off that corporate cliff and left small town Iowa farm life in my 20s to follow my calling, helping women come home to themselves by anchoring into who they're designed to be. I create sacred containers where women rediscover their truth, design their dream life, and transform those whispers into action. Now you can find me running my business from the soccer sidelines as a coach's wife, hiking my favorite Arizona mountain, or back in Iowa with my family, or on an adventure chasing my next sunrise, hot cup of coffee and journal in hand. Through intimate conversations about the stories, the traumas, and the transformations behind choosing excellence, we're creating a collective healing journey together. I believe in diving deep into personality designs, experimenting boldly, and learning life's greatest lessons through our beautiful chaos. Every week, my guests and I are going to rip down the curtains so you can see behind the scenes of real transformation as we explore what excellence actually looks like. Not just the highlight reel, but that messy middle where the magic happens. Whether you're seeking inspiration to take that leap or already on your journey and craving connection, this is your invitation to join us. So grab your coffee, settle in, and get ready to discover just how close you are to the life your soul is calling you to create. This is All Things Excellence. Hey, All Things Excellence fam. Welcome back. Today is going to be really fun. So, a few days ago, we kicked off an Enneagram series that I'm doing with Enneagram in Marriage. We had my husband back on here, Kobe, and for the next 9 weeks, the Friday episode will be featuring a person from each Enneagram type. It's going to be really fun, really exciting and insightful, because even if that week is not your type, my hope and desire is that it helps you step into the shoes of somebody else's type, somebody else that you know. And that's also what I want to bring to you today. So today is all about uncovering your Enneagram type. I want to walk y'all through the process that I go through when I do a typing session with someone. But just know that even if you already know your Enneagram type, this is going to be wildly insightful for you, because maybe you know yours, but you might learn something new, or you might be able to pick up on some things from someone in your life. And not that we should type people. We should never run around typing people, because we know what they do, but we don't know why they're doing it. We know their behavior. We don't know their motivation, which is what the Enneagram is all about. But I do think that it's going to help give you a little bit of insight. I think some of the greatest things that we can do in life is make this decision to learn about other people. I remember I was nannying already, so I think I was about 24. And if you don't know this, if you haven't listened to any other episodes, I have pretty much been going to therapy since I was 10. And I just turned 40. So we've got 30 years of therapy, coaches, leadership programs, all of it. A lot of times I was doing it all at once. So I have about 3 lifetimes worth of therapy and coaching and programs and growth to bring to you today. But when I was 24, I remember my therapist, Michelle, saying to me, she was like, "You're just really, really motivated to understand your parents." I was reading some birth order books and talking through the birth order books with her and about why my parents did what they did, and just trying to make sense as to the decisions that they made for me as my parents when I was a child. And I remember looking at her and saying, I just feel like if I could understand why they made the choices that they did for me as a child, I could love them a lot easier. And I was 24 years old when I said that to her. And she kind of like sat back and made comments about me being young and like my wisdom. And at the moment, I thought nothing of it, which now at 40, if some 24-year-old said that to me, I would be like, you are definitely ahead of your years right there. But it was just out of this deep desire to love them so unconditionally And I was kind of upset with them and angry with them just about some really random choices that they'd made as we navigated the extreme bullying that I went through in this small private school in my itty bitty tiny little town. And so that was really where my obsession with different personality modalities began. And now I have such an obsession with helping people uncover their correct Enneagram type. 67% of people tend to mistype when they take a test. They grab onto it, they make it their identity. And there's just so many things that happen when people choose to do that. Um, I've noticed that there are top three reasons that I see people mistype. Top three reasons. What I found is one, either they are really stressed out or they are really feeling all safe and secure in their environment when they take the test that day. And everyone has a core type. They have a place that they tend to go in stress. They have a place that they tend to go when they feel really safe and secure in their job. And we'll use my husband for an example. So he is an Enneagram 9. There are 9 types on the Enneagram, right? Numbers 1 through 9. He is a type 9, which is called the peacemaker. So at his core, he is that. He is the peacemaker. His deepest need, everything he does comes from this motivation of creating a safe, secure, and peaceful environment. But when he feels really, really safe and secure in his environment, for example, how he feels in his job right now, he reflects the best parts of the mid to best parts of a 3, an Enneagram 3, which is the achiever. So I say, like, you can tell when Kobe feels good and he feels safe and secure in his environment because he is like in his zone of winning and achieving. He loves kicking butt, taking names, and he loves winning. And I mean, you see that with him as a soccer coach because he knows that he knows that game better than most people on this planet. It is his most passionate project, and he gets very ridiculously competitive when it comes to coaching his players because he knows that he knows the game and he knows that his job is secure. Now, when a type 9 is stressed, experiencing stress, experiencing that pressure, they tend to reflect the mid to lower range health of, so again, health, guys. Not all 9s look the same. Not all types look the same because we have people who are in that low vibrational, kind of emotionally unhealthy frequency, all the way up to like the really, operating in kind of the shadow, all the way up to operating in the gift, in that higher frequency, experiencing the joy and the excitement of life, as opposed to lacking gratitude, living in the shame of who they are, right? And so when a 9 is more stressed, they go to that mid to lower health of an Enneagram 6. Well, 6 is the loyalist, but what a 6 does when they're most stressed, they tend to kind of death spiral. And working on this episode, just gathering my notes and doing a little extra research for this episode, I had a lot of conversations with my husband about this, about him going to a 6, and asked him some reflection questions around it. And he was like, that is, I honestly, I'm like, I should look up what he said. Y'all, it was kind of the funny. He goes, so 6s, I'll read some of this to y'all later. But one of the things was that they are constantly scanning for what could go wrong. And so I sent him this short list and just asked him like which pieces are going to resonate with him most as, the stressed part of that 6 when his 9 gets a little stressed and goes to a 6. And I said, how hard do you feel this? And he goes, I feel it in my bones. I feel it in my bones. So think if he was super stressed when he was taking the Enneagram test, then he would probably type as a 6. If he took it after he just came out of practice, playing with his soccer with his boys, he would probably type as a 3. If he took it just on a random Tuesday night when him and I just had dinner and he's just chilling, he could test as a 6, but he could also test as a 9. I think about the season that he tested in a 9, as a 9, and he, in that season was moving into a career where he was doing really great. I wouldn't say that he felt level 10 confident, but he was growing his confidence, and it shows why he was able to test right in that season. The second reason I see people mistype is that there's an environment that has programmed them. And I will tell you that 8 years ago, I think it was, when I learned about the Enneagram, because my husband's best friend brought it to us, he did say, he goes, I knew you were this type or that type. And the other type, he thought I might have been a 3. And I can tell you guys the reason that he thought I might have been a 3 was because externally, it was really obvious that I was either an Enneagram 8, which is the challenger, or an Enneagram 3, which is the achiever. I was kicking insane butt and taking names in my career. So from the outside, he was like, he could tell a lot of my behavior, right? The what I was doing, but he didn't know why I was actually doing it. And so it wasn't until we were able to sit down, I was able to read through all the Enneagram types, and we had a really great conversation about it, that we did uncover the why behind my what, the motivation behind my behavior. Okay, because my environment was a high achieving environment. At the time, I was living in Dallas, which is a very the thing about Enneagram threes is their basic need is to show the world that they are successful. It's very the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain type of thing. Like, we don't know if what's on the outside of the curtain matches what's behind the curtain. And so, in that moment, living, being in an Enneagram three job, being in an Enneagram three city where, we call in Dallas, we say $30,000 millionaires. There are so many $30,000 millionaires in Dallas because they are making sure they're showing to the world, I am successful. I am valuable. I'm a big deal. I'm flashy. I've got the car. I'm going out every night. I'm doing the things. I've got the clothes. And on the inside, they're actually probably only making $30,000, but externally, they're showing the world that they are millionaires. So a lot of times it's your environment that has you programmed. And then at the end of the day, number three, it's that tests ask questions based on behavior, not on motivation. They're asking the what are you doing, not why are you doing it. And honestly, I don't even know if it's honestly possible for a test to ask you that. I mean, maybe, potentially, like a chat bot could, but I don't even know because a lot of those like but why questions are insanely intuitive. And so I love doing typing sessions. It's why I dug in and went back and got an extra certification as a typing specialist, because I feel like people really knowing their core true type matters so much in how they respond to day-to-day life, what they bring into their life, how they go, not what career they do, but how they go after their career. And then also the conversations that they're having within the walls of their home, with their marriage, with their friends, with their family, all of those things. I believe that it is absolutely vital for you and your inner circle not to just know your type, but to know their types. My inner circle, we know our types and we also know each other's types. And the reason, one, knowing your own type, it's like being able to come home to yourself. It's going, at the end of the day, I know who I am and why this matters to me. I know why I'm responding the way that I am. Right now in this moment, just yesterday, I found some just really tough information for me. I found someone is no longer working in a certain position anymore, and them being in them working in that role, in that position, has always been an anchor to me as an Enneagram 8 who carries the weight of the world on her shoulders and who is always holding up the plates for everybody else. This was a person that because of their position was all would if I needed, they would hold the plates up for me. And so finding that suddenly they are no longer in this position, it has been, it's put me in that place of stress, right? And I am not worried about myself. I know what I need right now. I know who I need. I definitely know who I don't need right now. I know what to share with people, what not to share with people, who I should share it with, who can really be there for me in the grieving of my emotions because of the Enneagram. I know that I'm going to that five. I know that I'm kind of like shutting down, shutting out the world, but not completely. I'm going to the people that I need, that have what I need, that are going to help me best, like move and grieve through the shifting and the changing of this season and what that looks like for me. I know that, as an eight, it makes me feel at the mercy of other people that I don't trust yet because I don't know them in the way that I knew this person. And it's so easy for me to very quickly understand why this rocked my boat and why I literally like leaked out of my eyeballs all day yesterday and have so much this morning. And it's not, I don't think it's weird. I don't think it's irrational. I get to meet myself there with compassion and grace and and let myself have this time to feel all of the feels, without blowing these feels up on everybody else. And so it's allows me to come home to myself in a really good, safe way that's good for me and also that's good for everybody else in the world. helping me make sense of my emotions and my thoughts, right? We all have these emotion and thought roller coasters. And so knowing your Enneagram helps you understand that. And so that way, I think personally, I think it helps reveal a ton of blind spots. I think that when you don't know your Enneagram, a lot of times you don't really realize even the things that you're doing because you just think that you're honestly, you're not even thinking about them at all. And so when you know your Enneagram, it causes you to be more aware of how you're reacting to situations, which then causes you to be able to like remove a lot of those blind spots that you have about yourself. And then your communication with others explode because you know how to ask for what you need. And when that happens, when your communication explodes, so does the ease and peace in your life. You stop being frustrated because you can help other people see through your lens, but you also stop being frustrated with other people when you get to know their Enneagram, which is why I love my inner circle knowing theirs, because you can then also look through their lens. My mom's an Enneagram 7, and um, for their best good and to a fault, they have this ability to, like I always say, nobody sells and buys their own BS like a 7. And my mom and we were not arguing, but we were not agreeing on this thing. But we're not agreeing on a fact and on a, I don't know, on a thing that you can or can't achieve. I was like, no, you can't achieve it anymore. And she was like, yes, you can. And I said to her, I believe that for you as an Enneagram 7, I believe to my core that you believe to your core it's still possible. I know that it is absolutely not at this current moment in time in history, but I do believe that you believe it. And so I didn't try and force her to believe what I was believing. I didn't try, and I wasn't angry with her. I wasn't frustrated that she didn't understand or frustrated that she couldn't see. I really, truly did believe what she believed. And I just said to her, with me, my Enneagram type, we're known as the unmaskers. Like, I need you to trust me that when I say I see this, I need you to trust me, even though you can't see it for yourself. And so it really helped us. It helped us be able to move through a conversation so much easier than a decade ago. That conversation absolutely would have ended up in like like, let's be so real. That conversation would have ended up in a serious screaming match between my mom and I, where she absolutely would have hung up on me and I'm frustrated, and then I call my dad and I'm like, you need to handle your wife. And like, that was our old pattern before we found the Enneagram. So what I want to do for y'all now, I want to read to help you guys know if either you already know your type, then you'll just enjoy these, or maybe if you're trying to, you are working through with your friends or your spouse or your significant other or something, you're working through trying to figure out their type. I'm going to read three statements for each type. And I want you to remind yourself that you might resonate really deeply with multiples of these types as I'm reading them, right? Because you might resonate with your core type. You might resonate with your stress type, your security type. But then you also have wings. So it's like I'm an 8, so I can wing to the 7 or I can wing to the 9. You can only wing to each side. You cannot be like an 8 wing 2. That can't be a thing. But I just want you to know that you could resonate really deeply with a few of these. And it'll just depend. It'll totally depend on where you're at today. But I encourage you to write all of them down, which ones resonate with you. And then as we go through, I'm gonna go through these, and then I'm gonna talk to you guys about the little process that I go through. I have about 6 steps that I take people through when I do a one-on-one typing session, and I'm gonna bring you through those 6 steps today. So if you want to, you can obviously always work with me, but even on your own, then you're going to be able to walk yourself through these 6 steps to see if it can help you identify your own Enneagram type. Okay, so 3 most important clues for each Enneagram type. So type 1 it's called a couple things. Sometimes it's called the reformer, but more often than not, it's called the perfectionist, right? Because they have this deep basic need to be perfect. They instinctively notice what's wrong and they feel responsible for making it better. So if you're a type 1, you instinctively know it's wrong and you feel responsible for making it better. You carry an inner critic that's louder than anything outside of you. And then you believe being good, being right, and being responsible is what keeps you safe and worthy. Now, in Enneagram 1, they can reflect a 4 or a 2 as well. They go to 4 when they feel a little stressed. They go to the 2 when they feel more safe and secure. So you might pick up on the 4 and the 2 as well. So a type 2, they are known as the helpers. They are known as the helpers. Type 8s, I always feel this one a lot. Type 8s, we go here when we feel safe and secure in our environment. So type 2, the helper. You're deeply tuned into what others need, often before they even ask. So knowing what people need before they even know that they need it, and giving love feels safer than asking for it, which is why you tend to do like kind of a strings attached thing where you give and give and give and give and help and help and help and help, because that feels safer emotionally than asking people to help you. But then it does start to build a little bit of resentment. You fear being unwanted or not needed if you stop showing up for others. And in that growth path is growing your boundaries, right? Growing your boundaries and realizing what's good for me to show up for other people and what is overextending myself, showing up for people and showing up in places where, even if you don't show up in that place, you still know that you're loved and worthy, and not showing up in order to feel love or worthiness, but showing up because it really is like the best yes that you could do right now. Type in twos, when twos get stressed, they go to an 8. So a lot of twos actually type as an 8 because they're super stressed out and they type as an 8. So twos go to the 8 when they are stressed, and they go to that 4 when they feel safe and secure. They can be all in their feels when they feel safe and secure. The type 3, the achievers. There's a lot of people, y'all. A lot. I see this like crazy. There are so many people that think they're a 3 and they're not. I think type 3 is probably one of the biggest mistyping types. And the reason for that is because we live in a 3 society. If you live in America, I guess you can be living in other countries, obviously, and listening to this. But we have a lot of 3-ness going on in America. But I would say even with the growth of social media, we have a lot of 3-ness going on in the world, right? Where we're trying to make sure there's this facade on social media that the world sees that says, I am good, I am great, I am grand, I am successful, I'm awesome, right? And I joke that my husband and my family probably wish I was a 3 because I almost am almost to a fault the opposite. Show up a little hot mess express, and sometimes I think they wish that I cared a little bit more about how I showed up instead of just showing up so completely 100% myself. So 3s, you naturally shape shift to succeed in whatever environment you're in, right? Like we used to use the word chameleon. They're kind of like, stop doing that. The coaches to us coaches are like, stop using the word chameleon. I'm like, it's kind of real though, right? Most threes do resonate with that, where they are chameleoning and shape shifting to whatever environment they're in to be who people need them to be and perform in the way that they think people need them to perform, so they check that box that you're good, you're worthy, you get to be here. Being seen as capable feels essential to your identity, right? You crave efficiency, and slowing down or being vulnerable can feel a little bit like being a failure, right? The can't stop, won't stop, gotta be box checking, gotta be showing the world that I'm making progress, being efficient, all those really, really good things. When 3s are stressed, they go to a 9, so they tend to numb out, whatever your numb of choice is. When they feel safe and secure, they go to that 6, just very loyal to their core. Type 4s, known as the individualists, these are your unique people. I always say to a type 4s, and I've said it to a bazillion of them at this point, that they experience emotions like eating a bag of Skittles all at once. They feel all the flavors of the rainbow going on inside of their body at one time. And you often feel like something essential is missing in your life. So their deadly sin, there's a deadly sin of all the different types, and theirs is envy, because they're very envious about how comfortable other people feel in their own skin, and they wish that they could feel that comfortable in their own skin as they think everybody else does. And so it is that showing up in life thinking that they're missing something and everybody else has it. Deep emotional truth matters to you more than surface level happiness. Deep emotional truth matters more to you than surface level happiness. Now, because of this, the fours can tend to experience a little bit of never ending melancholy. And I remember talking to my sister in law about this, about how, like, you kind of were born feeling like something's missing. You love the deep, raw emotions of things, which causes you to feel that melancholy. Now, that doesn't mean that you're broken or you're sad or you're depressed. I mean, you might be sad, but it doesn't mean something's wrong. It's just who you are. And it's almost like you need to ride this ocean of melancholy and sadness, like ride this wave, like ride the wave, sit in the well in the ocean of sadness and melancholy, and allow yourself to feel all the deepest feels. And when you embrace it instead of fighting it, thinking that something's wrong, that you're missing something, but yet going, this is who I am, there is this beautiful growth that happens within you. So you long to feel fully understood without needing to explain yourself. My friend Andrea, who we will be seeing here in 4 weeks, or I guess 3.5 weeks, we'll be seeing her. She will help me out with the type fours. She's also, for a living, she helps people find their fingerprint of their color. Her and I are buddies when it comes to getting to crank out our full emotions. So as an Enneagram 8, I've got a lot of out loud intensity, usually with anger. And I feel everything very like ragey angry. And she feels everything very like deeply emotional, like the bottom depths of the ocean of sadness. And we never need to explain our very deep, intense emotions to each other, but we just show up in that moment for what that other person needs. And when I, was talking through these pieces with her about how they long to feel fully understood without needing to explain themselves, she, of course, was like, I feel that so deeply. She really resonates with that. So, when a four feels, I always get this one messed around. If you guys don't know this, I haven't mentioned this before. I have a photographic memory. So when I recite information, if there's ever a pause and you notice me like looking to the side, y'all, this was something I got made fun of like crazy when I was a kid, because people would say sometimes when you start talking, like you're looking up at the ceiling. But what I'm doing is I'm not looking up at the ceiling. I'm like looking at inside of my brain, and I'm like jumping around referencing other things to locate that information, like a Rolodex flipping through my brain. Like I literally can see myself flipping through this Rolodex in my brain to find that information. So a four, when a four feels safe and secure in their environment, they tend to reflect the mid to highest level of health of that Enneagram one. They create beautiful things with order and peace. And because order creates peace for them and flow. But when they are stressed, they go to the type two. So they go to that two and they lack boundaries. Okay. They go to the two and they lack boundaries and become overly helpful, overly needy, all the lacking boundary things. Next up, we have type 5, the investigators, sometimes called the professors. And that's because they love knowledge. Knowledge is power to them. Knowledge is safety. Knowledge is security. You crave knowledge and sufficiency, and you often guard your energy carefully. They wake up every single day with a finite amount of energy. And I know we've talked about that before. But what it does is I call them the resource manager, because I feel like they go through their entire day navigating how they're using their resources. You tend to withdraw when overwhelmed, needing time to recharge alone, right? I already said at the beginning of this session today that as an eight, when an eight feels stress, um, or like their security feels rocky, they feel uncertain, they go to this type 5. And so I always see myself doing this, where I'm guarding my energy, I'm digging in, I'm researching, I'm assessing, like, why did this happen? Why did this go this way? I would draw, and I kind of like shut down out of the world. And it's not in a bad way. I do it to recharge alone. The biggest thing is whether you are a core type 5 or you go there because you're an eight who's in stress, you need to make sure that when you go into this deep reflection phase where you're recharging, you need to be sure that you maybe go to coffee with that self and don't go on vacation. or build a house? Because there was definitely a season of my life where I didn't just go to coffee, I didn't just go on vacation with my five, but I built a whole freaking mansion and dug a moat around it and put like a bazillion crocodiles and piranhas and sharks in the moat to make sure that no one got inside. Fives, you fear being depleted, invaded, or incapable. Something that I've noticed with my five friends who are probably going to listen to this and laugh is they don't love when you ask them questions they might not know the answer to. They like showing up to life well researched and prepared to answer the questions that people are going to ask and to give the information that they have prepared. They love that. They love because competency is safety to them. Okay. So fives, when they feel safe and secure, they go to that eight, kick butt, take names. And when they feel stressed, they go to that seven. And this is that type where my husband's best friend, I would say, like, he is either in RX bar phase, eating Whole30, super clean, going to that eight, kicking butt, taking names, or he can be in stress and he's going to that seven and he's eating cosmic brownies, drinking some beer, and just they kind of like they go into that seven where that more is more and becoming very indulgent in all of the wild things in life. They are avoiding assessing their resources. So it is like they're at their core, they're assessing their resources. When they feel safe and secure, like, yep, my resources are good, they're kicking butt and taking names. But when they are super stressed, all the resources go to the wayside and they are just ignoring that the resources exist at all. All right, type six, the loyalist. My baby brother is this type. My husband goes here when he is in stress. This is the one that he goes, I feel this in my bones. So, six, the loyalist. You scan constantly for what could go wrong and you prepare yourself and others. Like these are our preppers, guys. These are our preppers, making sure we all know that the sky is falling and what we're going to need because the sky is falling. You trust yourself over trusting yourself over authority feels like an ongoing journey. So you trust yourself more than you trust anyone else. Security and loyalty are essential to your sense of safety. Security and loyalty are essential to your sense of safety. So, um, yeah, I don't know. They can be very prone to anxiety. They can be prone to negativity because and the reason they're more prone to negativity is because they literally see all of the pitfalls of life. Like they see where everything is or could possibly go wrong, which is great, right? Like we need these people in our life. One of my bestest friends, Dr. Asby, she's been on here before with us before. She is at the end of the day, like she's my end all be all for anything and everything that I do with my health. Like I don't do anything without running it through her. And I love that she always lets me know where I'm gonna like possibly like off myself because I'm making a poor health choice. My assistant Carline, she is also this Enneagram type, and I love it. And I said to her, your job, I'm always going to be throwing myself off a proverbial cliff, leaping after the next greatest, wildest thing. And your job is to make sure that I do not splat at the bottom. I need you to catch me before I splat and before I hit, and like remind me where I'm getting a little bit out of control and I'm just going a little bit too hog wild, or I'm sharing myself too much and I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be exhausted. And so I love these sixes in my life, but it's just so it's for me it's like meeting them in the middle with that, where it's like taking what they say, knowing that their intent is so good and that they are here to make sure that people like me don't go too far and hurt themselves. I love that. But then it's also me working with them. It's reminding them like, okay, like you're kind of spiraling a little bit. Like I need you to come back. Like we've really waded out in the depths with this. And I'm pretty sure we're not going to die. So it's going to be okay. I know it feels like it's all ending and the sky is falling. My friend Paula, we say when she's like really Alice down the rabbit hole, but I need you to come back to the surface, Alice. Like everything is going to be okay. Our type, but the thing to know that I do want to say this one last thing. The thing to know is just like I said to my mom, I believe that you believe it's still possible. I believe that you believe to your core it's still possible. When it comes to a six, I do believe that they believe that the world is ending at this with this certain thing going on. Like if they are fixating on something, they tend to really fixate. And I do believe that they believe this thing they're fixating on, like they believe the sky is falling, and I believe that. And so it's meeting them there, not trying to brush off their anxiety, not trying to like brush off their death spiral, their fixation, but meeting them there and helping them feel safe and secure in that moment, regardless if you have one of those people in your life. So moving on to type sevens. Type sevens are enthusiasts, they're adventurers. I have a wing seven, so I feel this one also to my core. They move quick. If you are a seven, you move quickly towards possibility and away from pain. So their basic need is to avoid pain. So that's why they're the master reframers. Why I said earlier, like nobody sells and buys their own BS like a seven. Planning your next adventure feels more natural than sitting in discomfort. So it's so like see if I'm going through this tough time right now where I'm just like grieving the shifting of a relationship, and my eight wants to like go into just like ignore it mode and put my head down and like go after it and not engage in the vulnerability. My five wants to assess my resources, like, whoa, this just ripped out a bunch of safety and security for us and how we live our life. Like, this is not good. We need to shore up our resources. We need to find a new anchor for safety and security. This isn't good. But my wing seven is like, we should go on vacation. That would make us feel good. We're being sad. Where could we go to ignore our sadness and just have fun? Maybe we should go to the beach. And then I'm like, maybe I should call Maria. Maybe I should call Maria, who is a seven, and see if her and the girls are going to the beach. And we'll just pretend it's not happening. And we'll just, it's probably like whale mating season at the beach right now in San Diego. I think it happens around this time of year. That could be really fun. And I'm just going to ignore all the feels, right? So sevens, you move quickly toward possibility and away from pain, reframing constantly. You're always planning your next adventure because it feels more fun to plan an adventure than it does to sit in discomfort. You fear being trapped in limitation, pain, or boredom. Like, God forbid you be limited, sit in some suck, or bored. More is always more. Their deadly sin is gluttony, and that's because the more is always more, the excess. Um, yeah, squeezing all the juice out of the berries of life. Type eights. Okay, so Okay, sixes when you're stressed. I forgot to tell you all this. Sixes in stress, they go to the three. So they will perform to feel loved because they're the loyalists, right? They don't ever want to be betrayed. So a six will perform to feel loved. For a couple years, we had some people that we know. For these people we know, their son lived with us for a couple years, so he could play soccer here in Arizona. And the dad would always fly into town and he would drive the kid to the game. And the thing that he said, he's like, I got to drive him there because I love like just needling him and getting under his skin and getting him all mad and angry, because then he plays better. Well, I knew that I lived with his son every day. Like like made his breakfast and his lunch and his dinner. I was very aware that the son was an Enneagram 6. It was pretty obvious too. You can meet a 6 pretty quick, in their fixation on things that are potentially going wrong and where the sky is falling. And so what I knew was when this dad would drive the son and he would needle at him and get under his skin, what it was actually doing was it was stressing him out and sending him over to the mid to lower health of a 3. So there he was performing in order to feel loved. He knew that his dad was getting after him and making him feel like he wasn't good enough. And so in order to bring his dad back to that space where he loved him just for who he was, he would go to that 3 and perform and work really hard in that game. And you guys, that's not good. I'm like, your kid is not performing and doing well because he wants to. He's doing it because he feels like it's the only way to get your attention and love. Like, seriously right now. But when a 6 feels safe and secure, when they feel like they're good in their environment, stable, they got good friends around them, nobody's going to betray them, or life's just going good, they go to that 9 and they get a little comfy. and maybe a little overly comfortable in their situation. I have a friend that she does this. I notice she when she feels like she doesn't have enough money, she'll go into like crazy work mode. But when she feels like she's good, she almost like overdoes it and goes to the nine, and then like gets overly comfortable with her spending. And we like to laugh and joke about that. Type sevens, when a seven feels safe and secure, they go to the five. And I notice this with my mom when she feels like good about where she's at with her career. She absorbs information like no one I've ever seen. But when she feels stressed, when a type seven feels stressed, they go to that one and they get a little rigid in their own very freedom and flexibility seven way, like a little rigid, a little their expectations. I had a work mentor that she is a type seven, and she always would need all of us to match, and it would make me insane because I don't like being told what to do and controlled as an Enneagram 8. And I always felt like telling me what to wear was kind of the like trying to control me. And then when I realized that she was a type seven, I was like, oh, that's because when she does that, it's because we're in these giant groups and she doesn't know who everyone is, and grouping people in matching colors and matching outfits. Like the different groups would wear different colors in her brain that helped create more order and chaos, right? Because a seven gets stressed, they go to one. Well, what can they do to create order when there is a little bit too much chaos for their own good? And that's what she would do. She would have us wear matching outfits or colored tops or different things like that. She'd be like, this group wear red, this group wear pink, this group wear black. And so once I understood that, I stopped being really annoyed with her and started just understanding that this is what she needs for her brain to feel settled in this environment so she can give her absolute best. It made so much sense to me. Okay, so moving on to the type 8, the challenger. I am the type 8. We're known as the challenger, the protector. So, type 8s, you protect your own vulnerability fiercely and often protect others too. We had an interesting incident last week at my husband's school with a visiting team, and these people on this visiting team are just known to create trouble everywhere they go. And so, the moment, 20 minutes after the game had ended, game's done, game's over, all good, I see these two kids that are always a part of the trouble. I see them start to walk over towards our players, and I immediately whip my phone out and I start recording as fast as possible. And the reason is because I know these people that we're visiting and how they make trouble everywhere they go, and that there needed to be very strong evidence. Not for me. I was going to be fine. Like I had nothing to do with it. I was just there watching the game. But I knew that in order to protect our kids, to make sure everybody knew and that there was no denying that our kids had nothing to do with this, that we would need video proof when it came to this family. And so there it was, like not only protecting myself, protecting my husband, but protecting our boys, our team, our school. So eights, you value strength, truth, and directness above all else. Very matter of fact, very to the point, very blunt. You fear being controlled, harmed, or made powerless. So a lot of times I think people think with eights, they get a little bit of a bad rap because they think people think eights have to be in control. They don't need to be in control. If somebody needs to take the lead and get some stuff done, an eight is definitely going to do it, but they don't need to be in control. They just don't want to be controlled. They don't want to feel like someone else has control over them. So they have a strong innate need for that freedom and that flexibility to do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it. So eights, when they feel safe and secure, they go to that two. And they can go in a mid health to higher health way. So they can go with really great boundaries or so boundaries. And I see that in myself. I'll definitely overgive, overserve, because an eight's basic need, they do need to come against, right? We got to like hate things before we can love it. Got to fight it before we can accept it. But they are very for the sake of the world people. They are motivated to take care of people for the sake of the greater good so that, right, the truth gets out there. But sometimes when you're feeling really safe and secure in your environment, you can go there to a fault and you can overgive, overhelp, overserve, going to that too, right? So you got to always figure out how to go there with really great boundaries. Whereas an eight who is stressed goes to that five, which I feel like I've talked about that a lot today. So y'all know what that is. Okay, moving on last, we got the nines, the peacemakers. So the peacemakers, my husband, a lot of my favorite people. I tend to collect sevens and nines. Nine, you instinctively merge with others. I love it. I loved it when I sent this to Kobe. When I sent this to my husband, it was so funny. You instinctively merge with others to keep peace and avoid conflict. Right. So we're at this situation. We talked about this a little bit on the episode Friday when we talked about Enneagram and marriage, where it's like he just wants to, he wants to like literally blend into the concrete of the baseball dugout last week. And here I am, like following people, going after people, videotaping people, like making sure that the truth is known, that, it's just like all he does to create this harmonious environment. I'm here with like a wrecking ball, breaking it down. All the ways he's working to avoid conflict, I'm almost like stirring the pot. Nines, you often minimize your own needs and desires to keep things calm. I frequently will say to him, you not only like, and he is grown immensely in this, but it's like your voice matters, your opinion matters, your needs matter. Like you've got to speak up for yourself, you've got to stand up for yourself, and not shove it aside just to keep things calm, because that's how people become doormats. Like you work so hard, you give of yourself endlessly, and if there is something that you need or want, you deserve to ask for it, because you never do. Nines, you also fear disconnection, conflict, or being overlooked. And that's one that always surprises me. I think as an eight, I would never fear being overlooked, because I have no problem saying what I need and what I'm great at. So the opposite of that being that nine, that fear of being overlooked, they do it so quietly and so silently that you don't even know it's a thought. And when he was like, I absolutely resonate with that. I feel that fear. That was a little like, I don't know about mind blowing to me, but it was a little almost like disturbing to me, where I filed that at the very front of my brain to go, you've got to make sure that you really come back to this with him, and that you're constantly checking in with him, that he isn't feeling overlooked, in our marriage, in my family, whatever. So definitely then also reminding him in his job. So he does feel very seen, very validated, very loved in his job. And so, that all things good there on that current front. So a nine, when a nine feels safe and secure, they go to that three. Again, like I talked about earlier, just kicking butt, taking names, being that achiever. And then again, when they feel that sense of security is rocked and they feel a little stressed, they go over to that six. And death spiral, which is why when I sent him my notes about the six that I read today, he was like, I feel it in my bones. He's feeling it in his bones. So, common mistypes that I see are definitely like a two versus a nine. A two, it's like, are you helpful because you need to feel valuable? Are you helpful because you're trying to keep the peace? I see nines and ones mistype a lot, and it's like, are you creating a lot of order with things because it's the right thing to do, or are you creating a lot of order because then you feel more peaceful? Right, the chicken versus the egg. I have a friend, Steph. She'll come on here for the fives. She had definitely typed as a three over and over and over again, and she was actually a five. The three versus five mistyping, because when a five is getting their resources so in order and in check, they can be very successful, but it can also look like they're just being very efficient, right? They have that efficiency of a three. A seven versus a four. I have a client lately who, she is a type four, but she kept typing as a seven. And that's because externally she really is the life of the party and she's a lot of fun. But that's really because she needs to show up as so uniquely who she is and beating to the beat of her own drum, which really is her type four. But externally she appears as a seven because she's got that outgoing, adventurous, charismatic self. But it's really because her type four feels so safe and secure, getting to show up and be her uniquely Skittles self that she is. Threes and sevens mistype a lot. I talked about how, my mom genuinely believes the difference between a three and a seven. If I'm just going to put it bluntly, people are going to absolutely hate this. Sorry about it. But, a three, when they're presenting that facade to the world, the three knows that what they're presenting is a facade. Sometimes they even start to believe it themselves, but like deep inside they know like it's not real. But a seven really is selling and buying their own stuff. They believe that they believe that they believe. And a three, it's really, like a 7 believes like what they're showing to the world is real, or a 3 is just trying to get the world to see that they're successful. Ones and eights and threes, ones need perfection, threes need efficiency, eights need excellence. That does tend to mistype a lot. But where I saw someone once, we were going back and forth between whether she was a 1 or an 8, and then what I saw happen, I was at a retreat, and we had a mutual friend that brought up a really deeply emotionally raw, vulnerable situation. And this friend that I was going, is she a 1 or is she an 8? I couldn't decide in that moment. It had been a couple years even. And I watched her die on a hill of rightness, like RIGHT, rightness. I watched her die on a hill of rightness over considering our friend's feelings about that situation in that moment. Um, like she cared more about what was in her mind right than she cared about the raw vulnerability of our friend's feelings in that moment. And in that moment, I said, wow, she's obviously a 1, because what is right is more important than how our friend is currently feeling. And as an 8, I can tell you right now that what I believe is my belief. But what you believe, like what I believe is my business and what you believe is your business. And it's not, I'm not here to judge what you believe is right and what you believe is wrong. And I also believe that people in that moment when they make those decisions with where they're at on their journey, I believe that they believe that it's the right thing. And even if they don't, then that's a whole different level of thing. They don't need me to judge them, because most likely they're already judging themselves. What they need from me is to feel love and acceptance in spite of the decisions that they've made, you know? Or if they feel that they made the best decision that they could, or if they believe that the way they're living their life is how they're supposed to be living their life, like that's them. Like that's on them. Like that's their journey. That's absolutely not my journey to judge. I do feel like 8s, I keep hearing people go like, oh, they have to be an 8 because they're just so intense. Well, here's the thing. Honestly, one wing twos and threes can be a million times more intense and opinionated and critical than an 8, because an 8 really just doesn't care. An 8 doesn't care about what you're doing. They don't care about how you're living their life because their self-assurance is through the roof. They only care about what they care about with their life. One wing twos are really busy trying to convince you that you're breaking the rule, which is really their rule. And threes can get really critical because your level of success is magnifying their failure. And so you're causing them, their insecurities, to feel even bigger. So, you know, I see a lot of 1s and 3s mistype as 8s because people tell them like, oh, you've got to be an 8. Like you're so abrasive, you're so aggressive, you're so bossy, you're so this, you're so that. Okay, well, a 1 is really bossy and aggressive, trying to convince you that what you're doing is wrong, or what you're thinking is wrong, or that your belief is wrong, what you're doing is wrong. And a 3 is so annoyed that what you're doing is greater than them that they become wildly critical of what you're doing because it's causing them to feel like they're not enough. They're not successful enough, that you're showing the world that you're more successful than they are. So again, guys, the behavior or the motivation, not what is someone doing, not how are they behaving, but why are they doing that is what matters the most. So the 6 steps that I do where I walk someone through a typing session. First, I always start first with a triad. You guys, I went and I got that extra typing specialist certification. And I did that because I was wildly passionate about making sure people found their right type, because I was finding that, literally like 70% of people are mistyping when they're taking these tests. And that's just the ones that we know of. Okay. And I was noticing that people were stepping into these identities. And I'm like, it is better for you to not know the Enneagram at all than to bring on the incorrect identity of the Enneagram. And so I found personally, even after going through the typing specialist certification, where we got bazillions of handouts, we practiced for weeks with our instructors and each other, and they gave us a really great format, which I absolutely love. I'm so obsessed with it. I use a lot of it. But in spite of that, using then what they taught me along with my own innate gifts, what I've found works really well with my personal clients, and my husband, I almost feel like I feel people's frequency. It's like I feel where their intention is coming from, and I can almost it's like I can feel. It sounds weird to say people feel. It's like everything has a frequency, everything has a vibration, and it's almost like I can feel their internal vibration of their Enneagram. But I start first with the triad, right? Eights, nines, and ones are in the gut anger triad. Twos, threes, and fours are in that heart emotive triad. And five, sixes, and sevens are in that head triad. I start first with a triad by asking them a few sensitive questions depending on who they are. The second thing I do is I go over their needs and their fears. Like eights need to come against, but they also fear being controlled. Sevens need to avoid pain, but they fear the mundane, right? The monotony. So I go over then the needs and the fears based on what we've kind of figured out with the triad. Then I really dive deep into the stressors because I think nothing helps you realize what your Enneagram type is by who you are when you're at your worst. I think getting really honest and vulnerable about like who you are when this shiz hits the fan really says who you are. And then I kind of go backwards from that. Step four, I go through like the 87 but whys, but why, but why? Because y'all, I do not care what you do. I want to unearth why you are doing it. Again, I don't care what you do. I want to unearth, but why are you doing it? So I ask why no less than 87 times. Not really. Don't get scared if you're going to do a typing session with me. Step five, I take the top 2 to 3 types that you're really resonating with and I start running scenarios based on the tendencies of the stressors, the security, and the deadly sins. So I start asking situationally based questions per who that person is and what they might be doing in that exact situation and how they tend to respond. And then type six, I just encourage them to try it on. Sometimes we get down to it and it's like you could be A or you could be B. You're feeling either one. And so I give them a giant workbook to work through. Not like literally like you're filling it out, but it's a workbook full of information. So you can try on the 2 different types and you have that workbook to be able to reference and journal in to see how you're feeling. So, how has knowing my personal Enneagram type helped me? That was something I wrote down. And like I touched on earlier in the beginning, with even the season I'm going through right now, it helps me know the right place and people to go with my intensity. I am never too much for someone anymore because of the Enneagram, because I've learned per the situation who I need to go to for that situation. Like even the shifting season that I'm going through right now, where my security feels rocked and this friend is like shifted, this friend slash resource has like shifted who they are in my life and how and where they're going to be showing up in my life. Of all the emotions to have, the one that I have the most is just sadness for a season ending. And I know the number one place for me to go where no one is, where I will not be judged for the depth of my sadness is my Enneagram 4 friend, Andrea. Like, because I know how I feel in this moment and what I need, I can go to that. I can go to her. And then when my need shifts to like then reassessing my resources and figuring out, then I'll go somewhere else. I'll go to a different friend because I need to work through that itty bitty little piece about it. So it's giving me the permission and the knowing of where I need to go for the different situations. And then I was like, how I wanted you guys to know, like, how has this helped my clarity and alignment clients? Okay. How has it helped my clarity and alignment clients? It has been a shortcut to understanding them. It has helped them, give them language to work through the blind spots. It's been permission for them to step in their unique genius. I've seen it explode their compassion for themselves and others. I know, one thing, my assistant Caroline is an Enneagram 6, and there's been a few times where, she's like, we're still in the first 6 months of our working relationship, and things have not been the right way, right? Like something's happened where I think a lot of employers might explode or get really angry or whatever. And knowing that she's a 6, the moment that I bring it up to her, she is going to run through her brain the million ways of how did this get messed up? I don't need to do that for her. I know that she's going to do it. What I do need to reassure her is like, you and I are good. We are good. I do want us to figure out how this got screwed up. Let's not do this again. But we are good. I'm not going to abandon you because they fear this abandonment, right? I am not going to abandon you. You and I and your job are good. And I feel like that then we don't waste time ever on this, you know, freaking out of like, oh my gosh, is everything going to be okay? She knows too that I'm an 8, so she knows what I look like when I'm good. She knows what I look like when I'm in like box, like almost like my own like go mode. We call it go mode. She knows what I look like when I'm just trying to like kick butt, take names, get it all done. But she also knows when I've withdrawn. She like reaches out, like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like." You've kind of fallen off the planet a second. I haven't heard from you today. Or, like I didn't see you on Instagram stories. Are you all right? And I love that. Like she knows like, okay, she's like kind of shutting down, like what's going on here. And it's really helped our working relationship being able to know that. And I think that it eliminates drama. That's the biggest thing I think is knowing your Enneagram, helping people around you know their Enneagram so you guys can all meet each other there. Not only does it give you a way to communicate, it gives you language without being um, offended, right? We can use this language, but you don't become offended because it's just part of your type, part of who you are. But it eliminates the drama because it eliminates the guessing and the insecurity. Like she doesn't have to feel insecure for a moment because I go to her and I'm like, dude, we're good. Let's not do this again. Like, let's not let this happen again. But like, we're good. We're good. So we're not wasting time with her feeling insecure that she's not good. And we get right to the point where it's like, let's fix this. Okay. So I did something really fun and special. And so in the study of human design, I'm also a certified human design guide, I guess we'll say it. I love it. It has given me and my husband and my family a lot of permission to work energetically in the way that's best for us, to like embrace our working style. It's a little different than the Enneagram. And this week, it kind of changes every single week as to the season, like the season of the week. And it just so happens that this week is the season. This week, we're supposed to be feeling reflection over force. Okay. This week, we're supposed to be embracing reflection over force, reflecting on what is and isn't working instead of forcing things to work. And even sitting in that reflection, not like reflecting for half a moment and then trying to force a new different thing to go. And so what I did for each type, I worked on a personal permission statement and a reflection question for each Enneagram type. And I ran these through my friends who are the different types and obviously myself. So as we're moving through the season of reflection, I am going to offer y'all both a piece of permission and then your reflection question, again, per your type, to just meet you right where you are. And again, this was created from the lens of this week, being the week that it is, through the conversations with my inner circle people and in my wiring this week it really is heightening like my purpose, like truly my purpose of who I am, not like the purpose that I picked, but the purpose of my energetic personality type. So this was extra fun. So type 1s, the permission statement for you to feel this week. You are allowed to be unfinished and still good. You are allowed to be unfinished and still good. And type 1's reflection question: where am I already enough, even if nothing changes? Type 2, the helper: your permission. You're allowed to need as much as you give. You are allowed to need from others as much as you give to others. And your reflection question: what is one need I can name for myself this week? Type 3, the achiever: your permission. You're allowed to be valuable without proving a thing. You are allowed to see yourself as valuable without proving a thing. And your reflection question: who am I when I am not performing or producing? Who am I when I'm not performing or producing? Type 4 are unique individualists. Your permission: you are allowed to belong to yourself before you become anything else. And my friend and I, before we talked long and hard about this one. Your permission are type 4s. You're allowed to belong to yourself before you become anything else. And your question: what beauty or meaning is already here, even in the ordinary? what beauty or meaning is already here, even in the ordinary. Type 5s are investigators. You are allowed to rest without having all of the answers first. And as an 8 who is currently sitting in a little bit of stress, I can tell you, this feels so good. This hits. You are allowed to rest without having all of the answers first. And your reflection question, where can I trust life before I fully understand it? Where can I trust life before I fully understand it, before I have all those answers? 6 are loyalists. The permission for our 6s. You're allowed to feel safe even when certainty is missing. You are allowed to feel safe even when certainty is missing. And your reflection question, what anchors me when the outcome is unknown? What anchors me when the outcome is unknown? Type 7s are enthusiasts, are adventurers. Whew, your permission. You are allowed to sit with what is here without needing to escape it. You do not need to escape it. And your reflection question, what feeling or experience have I been rushing past? So good for our 7 friends. What feeling or experience have I been rushing right past? Type 8s, the permission. You are allowed to soften without losing your strength. The reflection question, where is vulnerability actually a deeper form of power? I feel that so deeply in the way that I would rather just put on the armor of I'm good, it's good. And instead, this week working to step into that power of being vulnerable with the world, but not using it as a look at me, I'm strong, but as a look at me I'm a slight mess this week. It's so hard for me to do that, to be vulnerable while I'm still in the rawness instead of vulnerable clear on the other side. But where is vulnerability actually a deeper form of power, stepping into that power? And type 9s are peacemakers. Thank you to my husband for helping me with this. Thanks, Kobe. The permission for you this week is you are allowed to take up space without conflict. You are allowed to take up space without it causing conflict. You can take up the space in the room and it will not always create conflict. Reflection question for you. What desire of mine is worth standing up for right now? What desire, asking yourself that, what desire of mine is worth standing up for right now? So there are your permissions and your questions. We're going to be turning those into a cute little carousel on Instagram. So you'll be able to go to Instagram and find those questions again. Screenshot it, save it down to your Instagram so you can have it over and over again. I want to thank you guys for jumping on. Of course, you can book a typing session. The link is not available to the world anymore for a typing session. So secret link, listeners only link. If you go to chelseadbc.com, you can check in the show notes, chelseadbc.com/Enneagram. Check the show notes for that link. It'll be down below. chelseadbc.com/Enneagram. You can book a typing session. It is not available to the outside world. Again, you have to be a listener to even know where to find the link. Also, enroll in my next masterclass. On that same page, you can enroll in my next masterclass. We're going to focus on the Enneagram and relationships and how the different types tend to interact with each other. It's going to be a little bit of information and a whole heck of a lot of conversation. So it's going to be a very big immersion educational experience. Of course, you can sign up and you can get the recordings every single day. And I think the recordings are going to be great. They're going to be gold. If you can't be on the live, you can always learn from other people's learning. But also, I think if you can even carve even 20 minutes of there's going to be 3 daily sessions, 3 1-hour daily sessions. If you can even carve a little bit of time to jump on those and ask the questions that you want to ask and be a part of the conversation they want to be a part of. I think it's going to be beautiful, y'all. It's going to be so beautiful. We're going to be learning from each other. And I'll be weighing in with all the information that I've gained over the last 8 years, deeply studying and experiencing the Enneagram. But we're going to be talking about Enneagram and relationships and how the different types tend to interact. And then remember, guys, Friday, we leap into our weekly Ennea Spring series, starting with my friend Anna Marie, a ride or die in my life. Her name is Coop, as far as I'm concerned. It's her nickname. And she is an Enneagram 1 with a ridiculously strong wing 9. And so we will be diving into our Ennea Spring series starting this Friday with Anna Marie, the Enneagram 1. Thank you for listening. Don't forget, hit that follow, the subscribe, hit the stars, rate the podcast, pass this on to your friends who may or may not know their Enneagram, may or may not know your Enneagram, helping them have some insight into themselves, the people in their relationship, or maybe just even a little bit of insight into you so they understand you better, increasing your communication, increasing that closeness of the relationship. So, thank you for joining today, All Things Excellence fam. I will see you next time.